I'm from Northwest Indiana. I was from a town called Highland, very small town, northwest corner. And I come from a dairy family. I was my dad's, as we called it, the go fetch it. So when he worked on projects, I would go run and get him his tools, you know, whatever he'd forgotten, and we'd continue working on, whether it's the lawnmower or constructing something. So I was just always there handy for him. I said, okay, I guess I'm gonna go to Purdue. So it was in-state and an amazing engineering school. So here I went. It was probably the most exciting point in my life. I just knew I loved math and physics, and somehow that translated through the freshman engineering program into figuring out what that meant. You could do so many different things in ME because I don't think I was sure what ultimately I wanted to do. And with mechanical engineering, you had some electrical, you had thermal sciences, you had structures, and it seemed to be pretty versatile, and you could do with it what you wanted later. So it gave me a lot of flexibility in not knowing exactly the career path later, that I could come to ME, get a lot of great foundations in a lot of things, kind of life-changing on the knowing I wanted to do research. I think I always wanted, strangely, to work at Ford. My grandfather said, you had to drive a Ford to get to heaven. And so when I interviewed with them and I told them that line, I think that was the done deal. I started out in the research laboratory and I did computational fluid mechanics, and I did it applied to both external aero as well as the engine processes, so internal combustion. I was perfectly happy in my engineering world, and my husband, who grew up on a vineyard and winery in Italy, said he wanted to raise our children on the vineyard. And this was a little surprising, if not shocking. And he went and found the property and he purchased it. He said, I think we need to move. And so I said, okay. Apolloni Vineyards, the small family-owned vineyard and winery in Oregon, in the Willamette Valley. I think what surprised me is how much technical work there is in winemaking, or in almost anything in life. So what I do every day is seasonally dependent. So at harvest, I might be working with bringing the fruit in. Before we pick, we would check for ripeness. We run chemical analysis on it. We do projections of when each block will be ready to pick. And then once the fruit is actually picked, when I'm working in the winery, I do everything from weighing, punch downs, doing adds of certain things to enhance the fermentation. Again, chemical analysis. There's a lot of lab work. There's a lot of lab work and data keeping. It's a complex system. You have to know all the different parts and how they come together. So I think the engineer in me problem solves. So we learn to look at what has to be done and figure out how to do it with the tools at hand. And if you don't have a tool, how to make that tool, be it a physical tool or a methodology, you learn to go from where you are to where you need to be. My years at Purdue were actually probably the most formative of my whole life. I mean, those are the years you go from not knowing what you want to do and what talents you have to knowing what you really can excel at personally, what your mind is capable of. And that really transformed me as a person during those years.